Let's get more on this now with William Lawrence. He's a former U.S. diplomat and professor of political science and international affairs at the American University, joining us from New York. Professor, always good to speak to you. So Donald Trump wants this war to end where both sides currently are, meaning the front lines stay as is. But that's surely difficult for Ukraine to agree to, given they've already lost so much land. But this could be good for Russia.
Yeah. Any freezing on the current battle lines is a victory for Russia, not a total victory, but a victory. And Trump has demonstrated time and again, including by that comment in the clip you showed, that it's too complicated if you do anything else, that he doesn't really care about the details. What he wants is the ceasefire. He wants to force it through, and he probably doesn't really care that much about the status of the territory at the ceasefire line going forward. And so you could imagine a deal on these terms in which Ukraine simply doesn't recognize the Russian claim, but agrees to stop fighting. And, they sort of live to fight another day, whether it's a year away or 5 years away or whatever. And Trump can claim the only victory he cares about, not unlike the one he has on the Middle East right now, where all they have is the ceasefire and nothing else. And so, that seems to be enough for Trump. But I doubt Putin or Trump will accede to what's going on. And Trump's doing this thing he always does where he's trying to be chaotic and zigzaggy. And it says, makes an offer and then takes it away, makes an offer to the other side. And he thinks he can kind of force Putin's hand by doing that, and also sort of trade the not giving of the Tomahawks for a peace deal. But Zelenskyy knows better. He knows that the threat of the Tomahawks not in his hands is much smaller than the threat of the Tomahawks in his hands. And so I think Zelenskyy thinks he needs the bigger weapon so that Putin gets to the negotiating table. So that's where we are now.
This chaotic back and forth from Donald Trump, is that part of his diplomacy in some way? Because he's got this meeting coming up possibly in the next 2 weeks with Putin. How could these talks be any different to the ones that he had in August in Alaska?
Well, they would easily be better than the ones in August, because the ones in August were a total disaster and nothing was accomplished and everyone had egg on their face. So hopefully it won't be that bad. But in terms of, I wouldn't call it diplomacy. It's almost the opposite of diplomacy, but it is a negotiating strategy. And it can have an upside and it can have a downside. Generally speaking, the zigzaggy, chaotic approach can get you short-term concessions, can force the other side to make quick moves, and can sort of put fear in them in order for them to accommodate to your position. The problem is that it's sort of like the cry wolf problem. It wears off in the rate of success over time. It hurts relationships, damages both cooperation and credibility, and just doesn't work for sustainable relations. So, in my mind, as a professor of diplomacy, it's sort of the opposite of diplomacy, but it is something that can get you a short-term win if that's all you're interested in.
When it comes to Europe and NATO members, looking at the meeting that took place yesterday between Zelenskyy and Trump, and then the upcoming meeting with Putin, will they be concerned about how things are headed? Because most of them have given their unwavering support towards Ukraine.
Yeah, one of the ironies of Trump's chaotic, zigzaggy approach over the last 9 months is that he's forced the Europeans to step up, be more unified in Ukraine, pay for the weapons from the United States, and speak more and more with one voice, notwithstanding the fact that Putin has made some inroads in, Moldova and, some of the countries, on his border, where he's influencing elections and trying to, disassemble any opposition to him, right on the front lines. I mean, if you look what's going on in the Baltics and Finland, Putin's losing. He's losing the European influence operation. So it's sort of an unintended consequence of Trump's approach. But, I don't know what will come out of this meeting. Right now, Putin feels like he's winning. He feels like he's convinced Trump not to support Ukraine. And so I suspect nothing will come out of this meeting. I've been wrong before, but I'm often right in these things. I think Putin's just not ready to have a ceasefire the way the parties were in the Middle East crisis.
Appreciate your analysis as always, Professor William Lawrence there for us in New York. Thank you.
Pleasure.